Hey everybody, welcome to my start and sit analysis as well as my touchdown predictions. I'm breaking these out into individual position groupings and testing out and see how that goes. This episode is about the tight ends. Remember, if you want the full list of projections, please just email me or tweet at me. My information is below. Also, before we get rolling here, remember to subscribe to our channel and like our video. It's a small effort for you, but for us, it actually is a big deal. Once we become a YouTube partner, we can actually improve, our interactivity, and there's some other things that it unlocks for us. So please do that. Minimal effort for you, big deal for us. We'd appreciate it. Just a little click at the bottom there. Let's see. I'm going to go game by game, and I'm going to give you starts and fringe starts as well as the touchdown predictions game by game. We're going to start with Thursday Night Football, Washington versus Minnesota. I do not like Vernon Davis if he plays. I don't like the other guy that they have. I always call him Sample. Sample's on another team. It's the other guy that they have there, whatever his name is in Washington. Sorry, it's escaping me. I actually know it quite well because I follow the Redskins, but yeah, whatever. I don't have either one of them as a starts. For Minnesota, now, analytically speaking, I don't have Kyle Rudolph as a start, but I have not calibrated for Adam Thielen being out. I have a feeling, this is a feeling not backed up with my analytics, that Kyle Rudolph will get in the end zone this week. Again, just gut feeling for me, not backed up by analytics. For Arizona versus New Orleans, I don't like Max Williams or Clay this week for Arizona. For New Orleans, if Jared Cook plays, he's questionable. I think he's definitely a start and a touchdown candidate for New Orleans. I think the touchdowns are more likely to go to Kamara if he plays and Mike Thomas, but Cook could get some look on the goal line there. Cincinnati versus the LA Rams. I don't like anything for Cincinnati. Uzomah, Eifert are both sits for me. For the Rams, I think you play. He's a fringe start for me. Everett, you play him this week. Could get in the end zone, but I think he's more just receptions and yardage. I do not think he gets in the end zone, but again, fringe start for Everett. The Chargers versus the Bears. Hunter Henry, I believe you have to start. He's a fringe candidate for me. I don't think he gets in the end zone, but I think he gets you enough in the receptions and receiving yardage stat lines to warrant the start. Trey Burton, Sheehan, whoever else for Chicago I have as sits. New York Giants versus Detroit. I have Evan Ingram as a definite start and a touchdown candidate. Beware Rhett Ellison. He stole the touchdown last week. Let's hope it doesn't happen again. Detroit, Rhett Ellison's a sit for me, by the way. Detroit, Hawkinson, who I like going forward. I don't like in this matchup. I think Hawkinson is a sit this week. New York Jets versus Jacksonville. I believe Herndon is questionable this week, but still I do not have him as a start. Jacksonville, I do not have any of their guys, Swaim or O'Shaughnessy, whoever. I do not have those guys as starts in this matchup. Oakland versus Houston. I have Darren Waller as a definite start, and I think he gets back in the end zone this week. You got to keep an eye out. I've been saying this for a couple weeks. I watch a lot of Raiders games. I watch all the games, but I've been noticing Moreau is used on the goal line. If you're looking for a daily fantasy or a desperation play, you could play Moreau. I still think Waller is the start and the touchdown candidate and not Moreau, but just pay attention if you're super desperate. I like Fells for Houston this week as a start. I don't think he gets in the end zone, but I think he'll get you enough yardage to be play-worthy. Philadelphia versus Buffalo. I don't like what Zach Ertz is doing, man. I have him as a sit this week, if you can believe that. I think there's better options out there. Zach Ertz has to prove his worth this year. He's actually getting, in my opinion, outplayed by Dallas Goedert. So when he's being outplayed, that really kind of divides the snaps and the opportunities between them. Zach Ertz is a disappointment this season. I'm sure everybody else agrees that drafted him early. Buffalo, I do not have their tight end as a start. So whether it's Dawson Knox or whether it's Tyler Kroft coming back or something like that, I don't have them as starts or touchdown candidates. Seattle versus Atlanta. Jacob Hollister. Who? Jacob Hollister. I've been talking about him this week. He is going to be the replacement for Will Dissly, who's on the IR. I like him going forward. I like him this week to get in the end zone, and I think everybody's going to know his name after this week. For Atlanta, I think Austin Hooper has a really nice game, gets in the end zone. He might be my favorite. He is my favorite tight end this week. Think he gets in the end zone possibly twice this week for Atlanta. Tampa Bay versus Tennessee. I do not have O.J. Howard as a start. He's questionable anyway. Cameron Brate is a fringe start for me. I don't think he gets in the end zone. I like Delaney Walker, assuming he plays this week. Possibly a touchdown candidate for him as well, but I definitely have him as a start with catches and receiving yards. Cleveland versus New England. Seals Jones, I do not have in there. Whoever else, I think they have Demetrius Harris, I believe, as well. I don't have him in there. Now, this is interesting because Lacasse, I think, has been on the injury report. I think this is a week where the New England tight end will get in there. Is it going to be a guy? It could be a guy like Rex Burkhead if he plays. But I have this favorable matchup. I think somebody in that H-back or tight end role will get in the end zone for New England this week. So pay attention there. I actually would probably lean a little bit more towards Rex Burkhead. So if you're a daily fantasy guy, pay attention to that one. But Lacasse, if he plays, I like him as well. So, again, keep an eye out. Maybe it's even Mohamed Sanu if they have him in there playing this week, although I don't think that they'll have him active in this particular game. Just my hunch. Denver versus Indianapolis. Noah Fant, Heuerman, I don't think either one of those are starts. For Indianapolis, I actually don't like Ebron or Doyle this week. If I had to pick between the two, I would say Doyle over Ebron, but I don't have either as fringe starts. They're sits for me. Green Bay versus Kansas City. I don't have Jimmy Graham as a start for Kansas City. I have Travis Kecle as a definite start. I believe that Kecle will get in the end zone at least once this week. Miami versus Pittsburgh. I actually have Mike Gesicki, if you can believe it. Analytically speaking, Mike Gesicki as a fringe start, possibly even a touchdown candidate this week. Fringe start, daily fantasy players, be on the lookout there. I think if you're in a fantasy football league, you'd have to have a lot of balls to trust that that analysis. But hey, my analytics do really well with tight ends, really well with running backs. So I got to say, like, if it's spitting out Mike Gesicki, it's something I'm going to rotate into daily fantasy. I'm not going to put him in my fantasy football lineup personally. I don't always agree with these projections, but it's one to take note of. Seriously, if you play daily fantasy, and I do, I will definitely be rotating him in there because he's going to be so cheap. For Pittsburgh, I don't like Vanette, and McDonald was close to a fringe start, but wasn't there. If you're desperate, I actually have Gesicki outperforming McDonald there. If I had a choice between the two, and those were my choice on my team. Thank goodness it's not. But if that was my choice, I would actually take Gesicki in that matchup. I honestly would. So there you go. That takes me through this episode. Please remember, subscribe, like. You can contact me, and I'll give you free analytics, the full point projections, and everything. It's free. I don't bug you too with spam. So check that out, and check us. Watch some of the videos that are popping up on the screen right now, and check us out on another episode. Thanks, everyone.